This is Divine Evolution, and I'm Chris O'Connor. Welcome back to episode number 2. Again, I'm so excited and grateful that you've joined me. Today I would like to talk about spiritual warfare, and spiritual warfare in a non-biblical sense, but in a more simplified form. One of the ways I've been able to manage and process so much of the information that we were given as children was for me to finally break things down instead of being good and bad, or evil and goodness and such as this. I really had to break it down and look at all of life as positive and negative, and not simply for the purpose of determining good and bad, but also on a scientific level, understanding how energy flows, how our bodies, minds, and souls, our spirits, how all material actually has a polarity. And this polarity is the vibration that we vibrate at, depending upon the materials that we're talking about and upon the degree of heat, the action that we take, and the movements that we make. And these things create higher vibration, and vibration equates to temperature, and when these things come together is when they become material. As I mentioned in episode 1, materials were given free will, and they became conscientious beings thinking about repercussions of actions. Then that free will began to kick in. So an entity could choose its actions. And though we call those actions good and bad, if we could stop and rethink that and think about it on a positive, negative level, as in polarity of even a magnet or a battery, there's positive and negative. And the reason these other things correlate to description of action in good and bad, it being positive and negative, is that there's a flow of energy in all of these things. And there's a flow of energy in our own actions. And there's a flow of energy in our thinking. And we're affected by all of these things. So what I began to do was think about life instead of being right and wrong or good or bad. I imagine, and if you will with me, please imagine a horizontal line of infinity. And this line of infinity, in the very center of it, is a zero. And this zero is neutrality. Now this neutrality obviously is not negative, nor is it positive. And instead of thinking about our actions and things in general as being good or bad, and because there is no judgment, if we stop to think about each action that we make and imagine that scale moving, if you do a positive or a good thing, you become more positively polarized. So that scale moves to the right-hand side. If you do something negative, then that scale could move to the left, to the more negative side. And so we can gauge our life and all of our actions based upon where we are on that horizontal scale of polarity. Now, most of us are positive people overall. And there are obviously quite a few negative people. And it's difficult to know sometimes who is who. And we could be a negative person and not even know it, though we're doing good deeds. It depends upon where we land on that scale of polarity. And if you're inherently a negative person or inherently a positive person, all of these things have an effect. And that effect is, in fact, where our vibration begins to vibrate upon. If we're more negative, our vibrations generally are lower tones and absorb all things around them. And positive is somewhat opposite in that it's a higher vibration, higher tones, brighter lights, more brightness or just light in general. And then that light is the reflection. So it reflects positivity back. And the reflection of that positivity, the purpose of it, is for the benefit of others. Instead of absorbing things for ourselves, we reflect all good things back out for the benefit of others. And that's in our actions, in our words, and our thoughts. And the vibrations are related to each of those things. Now, I mention these things because there is a warfare. There is spiritual warfare. And though it's very complex, I'm going to be very simple in explaining it at this point in our journey together. Negative forces that are out there, you can call them whatever you'd like, demons, it could be called aliens, it could be called just anything, actions that are considered evil. But in fact, there truly are an entire series of beings on a spiritual level. And there are an entire series of beings in a positive level. We call them angels, we call them spirit guides, we call them ancestors. And these are all beings that are with us on a daily basis, that help us through daily life. When a person on that scale of polarity is moving more positively to the right-hand side, becoming more positive, that's taking up space that negative entities don't want taken up by positivity. So they fight to take it over. And the ways they do that are numerous, probably practically infinite. But some of the most simple and relatable ways would be if there was a very positive person doing positive things, there would be some negative forces coming in trying to stop them from doing these positive things. Because positivity brings light into the world. On the astral level, our physical eyes cannot see this level, but it exists around us. And the purpose of negativity is to conquer and control. That's everything negative in the world, every negative action or being, those are the only purposes they truly have, is to conquer others and to control them. And if there are spirit beings that are being controlled by higher dimensional spirit beings, well, that's going to come down the hill, isn't it? So those other spirit beings are going to send lower ranking spirit beings, and they could be in the form of a demon, they could be in the form of just some evil entity that we've never even known to exist, and it could be anything. But they send them there to take out that light. If you are a light, a bright light in the universe, in that darkness, they want to take it out. Well, that would be their second choice, actually. Their first choice would be to transmute that light into darkness. And they do that in a number of ways, one of which would be a spirit possession. These spirits come in, and I'm talking generally non-human spirits that are negative. They come in and try to affect that person, driving them insane, causing them to do negative things or bad things, to make them become bad in their own mind, or simply take them over. And if they can change that being from a positive being to a negative being, they absorb all the power of that positive person, and all the light is driven away. And they get credit for that. And so they become empowered by it because they have conquered and will now control that being that they transmuted from positive to negative. So that is the journey of all negativity. That is the purpose of it. And that is why there are attacks, because they want to conquer and control. The more powerful, the brighter your light, the greater target you are. But they cannot affect you if you shine your light. And I've heard growing up that one way to do this is to rebuke them. You cannot and should not rebuke any negative entity, because don't forget, we are all a part of God. We are all made of the same material, whether it's ethereal, astral material, or physical material here on earth. We are made of the same materials, all of which is ultimately God. So we must love them. We must love them because they are God, whether as evil as we can see them in our eye as being. Our duty is simply to forgive them and to love them and to send them light. If you do this, I don't care how powerful a being is, if you simply send them love and light, that's it. They cannot exist within you. That is why others who have said that they were had an evil spirit, or even alien. Sometimes people, alien abductions, say that they called out the name of Jesus Christ and these aliens fled, or these demons fled. Well, by calling out the name of Jesus, Jesus is love. He represents the perfect sacrifice. But you're sending them love because you're sending them Jesus. They must flee, because if they chose to stay, they would lose power. And ultimately, they will all lose power and must transmute to positivity someday, because all returns to God. But all we need to do, if we're fighting battles, if things are happening in our life that don't quite seem right, and we can't make heads or tails, or it's unusual, or it's very difficult, you could be in a spiritual battle. And what I can give you for advice is to simply acknowledge it. Simply say, thank you. Thank you for your offering. Thank you for the gift that you're attempting to give me. I honor and acknowledge you because you're a part of God, and I love you because you're also a part of God. But I must reject your offering now at this time, and I send you love and light. And no darkness can ever exist in the presence of light. And don't forget that light is love, and love is light. The feeling we have of love is a transmutation of God's own soul. We feel God when we feel love. So you send negativity, the very essence of God, and they cannot remain in the face. They either must flee or transmute into positivity. And you will win. You will always win, because love always conquers all negativity. And don't forget that we are all God, we are all love, and I love you. Thank you so much for being with me again. Until next time, I'm Chris O'Connor.